I love to eat. I developed this Epicurean attitude from childhood until the day when my passion put my life in danger. You want to know how? I'll tell you. Before we continue with the story, do not forget to click on the notification button in order to get notified at every new video posted. Thank you. My name is Maddie. I am 20 years old. I developed my passion for cooking and the art of gastronomy at the age of 5. I caught the bug watching my mom's cooking program every Wednesday on TV. It was our moment of communion for us, a great way to share something that we were both passionate about after a long week of stress. Then as time passed, I started to ask my mom for kitchen utensils so that I could exercise this passion that burned in me. I started making pies at home, and my favorite one was the apple one. When I finally graduated from primary school, I chose technical education instead of general education, so I was sent to a cooking school where I perfected my art. I was very lucky because my parents supported me a lot. They were interested in what I could achieve as a chef in the future. Plus, who could refuse a good homemade pie every Sunday? I was in heaven. I was able to experience the different ways of cooking traditional dishes as well as modern dishes. And the more time passed, the more I was certain that that is what I wanted to do as a profession. Sometime later, I wanted to put my little experience to the test and entered a cooking contest in my area. My parents were very enthusiastic and they gave me all the support as usual. From the day I went to the headquarters of the competition for registrations to the different stages of the competition, they accompanied me personally, putting aside all of their parallel activities. And I would like to point out that I was even the only one to be accompanied at all the levels by her parents. I can assure you that it was a privilege. Came the time when you had to go onto TV and cook to be able to win the trophy. I was eliminated at the end of the second passage. It was an emotional disaster because I had to put all of my hopes in this victory, and I had made the mistake of hoping to gain the validation from outsiders for my talent. Unfortunately, they did not understand the purpose of my mixtures and the modifications that I brought to the various classic recipes. Reason why they did not understand the innovative approach that I wanted to bring to the kitchen. Reason for my elimination. So I had to recover from my emotion and move on. I continued my little way, and a year later, after hard work, I got my high school diploma. 2 choices were offered to me, one being to be hired by a local restaurant and a hotel as an assistant cook, or higher education and the possibility of becoming a starred chef at the head of my own structure. My choice was made. I absolutely had to go to university in order to offer me better opportunities. My parents were very enthusiastic about my choice and decided that it would be time to accompany me. When the time came, Dad, Mom and I went to the capital to prepare for my installation. Already it was necessary to find a student room, then find some IKEA furniture for a minimum comfort. Then I had to start the pre-registration file, and that was a huge help because he decided to come with his car. Walking the streets of the city was easier that way. Once my files were completed, my parents left, leaving me with their blessings and wishing me good luck. It was one of the most heartbreaking phases that I lived because I had never been separated from them. I adapted as best as I could and made a friend along the way, Alexia, with whom I bonded very quickly. We went to the library and the cafeteria together, so at least we had company. The lessons were very exciting. I learned new recipes, new spices. I was totally in my element. A semester had passed. It was almost time to finalize our end-of-year project. The principal of the university was such that at the end of each year, each student was supposed to present a culinary project. Since I never liked to do things like everyone else, I had chosen to make a documentary on the cuisine in the region in which my university was located. For that, I went from restaurant to restaurant in the city, where I ordered the most exotic dishes, tasted them, and gave my opinion on camera. Besides, I had started posting videos on my YouTube, and they were successful. One evening, I asked Alexia to accompany me to one of the restaurants near the campus. We had never been there, but had heard several times students who talked about it and seemed to be satisfied. We had precisely chosen the moment of dinner because at that time, the restaurant would be quieter. At 10 p.m., I took my car despite the rain which has just started. I stopped at Alexia's to pick her up and we headed to the famous restaurant. Once I arrived, the place was as I imagined, quiet and practically empty. There was only the server and the manager. We took place at the back table on the left. And immediately we sat down, the waiter arrived at our table with a big smile and said to us, "Good evening, miss. You must be particularly hungry to come at this time." I responded by saying, "Oh, you're closing?" "No, don't worry, we usually close at 11 p.m. In addition, you're right on time. Customers who arrive 1 hour before the closing time are entitled to a free pie," he replied. And of course, we were totally thrilled by the idea of having a pie at the end of the meal. So Alexia and I did not hesitate to place our orders. I had roasted chicken, while she ordered spaghetti carbonara. But what caught our attention the most was the fact that the waiter and the manager seemed to be a little too friendly. He passed by our table every 10 minutes to find out if everything was fine, and above all, if he didn't hesitate to use a colloquial language, which after a while made me feel uncomfortable. I pointed this out to Alexia, who reassured me by making me understand that he probably created closeness between us to make it easier for him to get a tip. It was a logical reason, but something deep inside me told me it was fishy. We somehow continued eating our dish. In the end of it, it was almost 11:15 p.m., and I urged Alexia to go home. It was getting extremely late, and the rain still hadn't stopped. When we got up, the manager stopped us because we hadn't tasted the promised pie yet. Alexia replied kindly that it was not worth it serving the pie because we were about to leave. But the manager insisted by making us understand that she was almost ready and that she had been made especially for us. It was hard to find another reason to escape, so we finally sat down. After 2 minutes, the server came back with a huge apple pie and put it in the middle of the table. Then with a broad smile, he wished us bon appetit. I didn't know why, but his smile struck me as it was chilling. Alexia and I each took a slice of pie and started eating it. At the end of the first part, the same waiter came back to the table to ask if it was our liking. I couldn't bear it, and I told Alexia to get up. I had palpitations and sweaty palms. My instinct was screaming at me to leave. I was so freaked out that I didn't bother to resume the video I was doing simultaneously for my YouTube channel. Alex followed, and we ended up in the car, leaving the rest of the pie on the table. I just remember driving for 5 minutes, but as if by magic, the next morning, Alexia and I woke up in my apartment. We were lying on the ground, still dressed in the yesterday's clothes. We were trying so hard to understand what happened. Then she told me in a joke that our meal must have been drugged, which is why we didn't remember getting home despite the incident. We continued our normal life without thinking much about it. 2 weeks later, I was watching television, and I came across a news report about the arrest of a college restaurant manager in our town. Human bodies had been found in his reserve, and around this story there were rumors of preparation of human meat. And when I looked closer, I realized that it was the manager of the restaurant in which Alexia and I had been. It was then that I realized that that night, had it not been for my sixth sense, we would have been amongst the victims. A few weeks later, the conclusions of the investigation was revealed that the manager and the waiter of this restaurant were part of a group of human organ traffickers. They had settled in the university area because of the vulnerability of the students. They operated by drugging foods of students who went there late at night. They put GHB in their food. It was an odorless and colorless drug. Therefore, it was easy to transport in food. Drugs put the victims to sleep, and that's how they were able to kill them without having to fight. I realized that's why they insisted on us having the pie before leaving. Their trial would begin in a week. They risked a life sentence.